out of the gun. Manning lets it fly. It's caught by Thomas. There's the record for Peyton Manning.
Nothing wrong with Orange and Blue Podcast.
What's going on, Broncos country? How you doing, RW crew? It's week.
What's up, y'all?
3 now. We are 2-0. How excited are we right now? I mean,
super excited.
It's
Friday.
Hey, we haven't felt this feeling. You know, it's still early in the season, but we haven't felt this feeling in Broncos country in so long. It feels good.
It's exciting. You can feel the atmosphere. You're excited to watch the game. It's Friday. That means it's 2 days before the official home opener at Empower Field.
And as such, we have a really big show planned. All right. So, hey, I'm going to go ahead and introduce us. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, everybody, to the Nothing Rhymes with Orange and Blue podcast. I am your host, Johnny Bakke. With me, as always, my best friend in the world, godfather to my kids, Isaiah Henderson.
What's up, y'all? What's up, y'all? Week was good. Started a new job this week. Absolutely love it.
You're always starting a new job. I don't get excited for you anymore.
Okay, then don't get excited for me, Johnny. I don't want you to get. I don't want the excitement in my life anymore. Then
I'm kidding.
So anyway. Great week. I'm just looking forward to some Broncos football. There's some news out there, but you know what? We're gonna be optimistic. In 2 days, we got our home opener. So I mean, that's what's most important. That's what's most important.
So we are a fan-led Broncos-based podcast that brings you NFL news, but most importantly, Broncos news every week, okay? We go live every Friday at 7654 on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. All right? Please, if you like what you see, if you like what you hear, go ahead and give us a subscribe, okay? You're helping us out. Share the video out there. Let's grow the family. After you've subscribed, hit that notification bell so you know when we're live, so you're ready to go with us, all right?
Hit that thumbs up and hit that like button, baby.
Boom, boom. Please do not miss our other shows, all right? On Tuesdays, we have Broncos Talk, same time slot. We have Thursday, MHRT Podcast, also the same time slot. And then on Sundays now, or actually, I don't want to say Sunday, on game day, every game day, we're going to have about an hour to 2 hours before the game starts. We're going to have our new pregame show that we re-premiered this last Sunday with great success.
Yeah.
Neigh-borhood. Oh, I messed it up. Hold on. The Neigh-borhood.
Thank you, Johnny. Thank you.
All right. So please check out our other shows. All right. Also, you can find all MHRT episodes of every single MHRT show on all major podcast platforms, be it Apple, Google, iHeartRadio, Spotify. You can find the audio versions of all of our podcasts there. All right. That being said, it's time to talk Broncos. It's time to talk Broncos. So
let's talk about it.
We are at week 3. Going into week 3 at home. Season home opener against
That's a house.
the New York Jets. All right. Broncos country is the Broncos are currently 2-0 going into the home opener. So you better expect that Empower Field at Mile High is going to be explosive.
It's going to be roaring
on Sunday.
Roaring.
Even though not that it never is when the Broncos play at home, because it is, I think the atmosphere is going to be so much more intense.
Well, so we officially have our fans back. We have all of our fans back. And 1 is the home opener. 2, we're going to the home opener 2-0 with a very winnable game.
Absolutely.
So we got Von Miller back this year. We have a good quarterback. We're just excited, and I think Broncos country is going to be. They're going to show up and they're going to show out, and we're going to rock the NFL.
Right. So now we here on Nothing Rhymes with Orange and Blue have a really exciting guest coming on with us today.
Yeah.
In honor, he's gracing us with his presence in honor of the season home opener. All right. If you all will please join me in welcoming Mr. Aric Dilalla. That's right. Mr. Aric Dilalla, the lead writer and the media director for the Denver Broncos. I want that to seep in for a second, y'all. For the Denver Broncos.
I'm
a fangirling a little bit. Hi, Aric.
Hey, thank you guys so much for having me. That intro was tremendous. I appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate that.
Yeah.
And the honor is ours. Like I said, we have never, if you'd asked me when we started this podcast about half a year ago, like no kidding, about half a year ago when we started this, if we would have someone who literally works for the team on our show right now, I'd have said you're out of your mind. So the fact that you're here with us, this is so exciting. We thank you for joining us, Aric, and welcome to Nothing Rhymes with Orange and Blue.
Thank you so much, guys. This is awesome. I love talking football with Broncos fans.
Well, we do too.
We definitely are Broncos fans.
I do have to apologize. My voice is a little off, and I've got a bit of a cough. My family got re-attacked with another illness like 2 weeks after the last one, so we're all still recovering. So every now and then I might mute and cough off to the sides because I don't want to get y'all sick. That's
I appreciate that. We appreciate it. Yeah.
But when I laugh, it sounds terrible, so I do apologize. So we really appreciate you being in here, Aric. And before we really get down to talking Broncos, we want to learn a little bit more about you. So tell us a little bit about yourself, please.
Yeah, I actually originally am from out on the East Coast, North Carolina, and went to school out in Chicago, and then headed west from there about 5 or 6 years ago. I guess 6 years ago now. Started with the Broncos as an intern and kind of made my way up a little bit, and that's where I've been for the last 6 seasons. So live in Denver. Had never been out here before taking the job, and absolutely love it. So yeah, finally excited to. Last year was a little bit weird with the COVID season. Was the first time that I hadn't been on the road with the team for the time that I'd been here. So nice to get back to the road games. Going to be nice this weekend to have a full house again and get back to normal. And mostly just excited that the team's winning again and things seem to be moving in the right direction.
That's fantastic. So thank you again. We'll jump in the comment stream real quick. The Whiz Kid, Landon Clark, comes in saying, hello, everyone. Our buddy State Farm, Gary Neighbors, go Broncos. Number 1, 2-0, baby.
Let's go.
Our number 1 fan, Dave Glassman, like the video.
Go Glassman.
The orange and blue. Love it. Avatar, what's up, Broncos country?
What's up, baby? What's up?
The infamous Mohammed Badri, also known as Mo Bad. Hello, family. He says, Omaha, Omaha, Omaha. I love it. I love it. And Avatar, or we already said Avatar's in the house, but he says he's here in his Tatum Bell jersey.
Ooh.
That's a throwback a little bit, isn't it?
So, Aric, quick question for you. Before you moved out west, did you move to Denver and then become a Broncos fan, or were you always a Broncos fan and it just so happened that you got a dream job?
So don't tell anybody. I did not grow up a Broncos fan. I know. Gosh, I'm going to get myself in trouble here. I grew up an Indianapolis Colts fan, actually. My dad went to the University of Tennessee, and so the Peyton connection is what led me there. And then after college, I just started looking for jobs and found one in Denver. Had a couple family members out here, and so decided to join with the Broncos, and it just kind of it fit that Peyton came here after Indy. I came here after being an Indy fan, so I got here just after the Super Bowl, so we didn't overlap when he was playing. But that's definitely been one of the cool things that over the last few years when he's been around, or going in the Hall of Fame this year, being in Canton for that induction. It'll be cool when he goes in the Ring of Fame later this year. So that's been a nice little something that I think as a kid I would have been just absolutely blown away by to be working in the same kind of space.
I wish that I could just move back to Colorado. I'm originally from just north of Denver, Longmont. And I grew up a Broncos fan, and I wish I could just decide to work with the Broncos. I'm going to do it. I'm going to just go.
Yeah, let's go.
That's awesome. And so the Peyton is strong with this one, is what I'm hearing.
Yes, exactly. I was also a Colts fan as well. That's why I put my hands in the air. I was a Colts fan because of Peyton Manning. The Colts traded him. Peyton Manning came to the Broncos, so therefore by default, by association, I became a Broncos fan. And then, like we told you before, I met Johnny, and Johnny's the biggest Broncos fan in the world, and it would be unacceptable for me to change teams ever again, which no longer was an option. So I'm a huge Broncos fan. We do have a couple questions for you in the comments, Aric. Right off the bat, there's going to be 1,000 questions for you because just your resume, your pedigree, what you bring to the table, the provision you bring to Broncos country. There's going to be 1,000 questions. So the first one is from Avatar. He says, Aric, what is it like to work with Hall of Famer Steve Atwater?
Big question mark.
Yeah. Steve is, for as scary as he was on the field, he could not be a nicer guy off the field. Just has time for absolutely everybody, and not everybody's that way who's in the Hall of Fame. And I've been lucky that most of the people with the Broncos that I've worked with, players have been great. Staff has been great, but you hear stories of guys on certain teams or guys with big reputations not making time for the little people, so to speak. And Steve, from the second that I met him, has just been such a nice guy, just an incredible person. For as good of a player as he was, he's 10 times the guy. Was so excited to see him go into the Hall of Fame, and was lucky enough to get to celebrate with him in Canton this summer, I guess. Just what a great guy. There is I don't know a better person than Steve Atwater. He's just unbelievable.
Well,
that's great praise.
First of all, way overdue.
Yes.
And so I've been pounding the ceiling for it for a long time, screaming about it. Why is Steve Atwater not in the Hall of Fame yet? And so he definitely deserved it. And others, and what you just said, it absolutely reflects what I've heard others say, is that he's the kind of guy he could hit like a freight train, but would give anybody the shirt off his back, is basically what I've heard. Yeah,
he's unbelievable. He is unbelievable.
Well, if you ever get a bug, and want to put a little bug in the ear of a Hall of Famer Steve Atwater about the Nothing Rhymes with the Orange and Blue podcast and how much fun you had on here.
That's true.
We would absolutely not fight you about it.
Right. I mean, you said for yourself, he makes time for everybody.
He does.
So.
Yeah. He is a busy guy. I can barely get him on my podcast.
No, I hear you.
But
oh my gosh, like I said, you're the biggest name we've ever had on here so far,
and it's a wonderful experiences you've had.
Wonderful experience.
And also, we got another fan, Mr. Bogdan, says Aric needs to do an audiobook with that voice. I was thinking the same thing. Not everybody can come on a podcast, get in front of a camera, or speak in front of a microphone without getting nervous, without being anxious, without falling all over their words, which isn't a bad thing, but it obviously comes to you naturally. So you've got a fan out of me, you've got a fan out of Mr. Bogdan as well.
I've got an idea. We should have has anybody else ever read Peyton Manning, The Last Ride? Aric should audiobook that. He should be the audiobook voice for that. You got the voice, you've got the fandom of Peyton Manning, but both from whatever, it's Peyton Manning, The Last Ride. There you go.
No, that probably comes with a nice little check too, I would think.
Yeah, it's a great book.
You would.
If you haven't read it, definitely read it. So, I want to ask a question of Aric. Oh, I'm sorry, Richie Rich, freaking Aric in the house.
He's from Canada,
Rich is our colleague at MHRT from Canada.
I love it.
So yeah, he's our resident. I'm sorry there in all that. So we have a lot of fun with him. So my question for you, Aric, if you'll indulge me.
Yeah.
So you've been with the team since just after we won the Super Bowl, right?
Yes.
So you've been kind of part of that environment, part of the culture of what the team has been. So what is different this year? What is the difference in the culture of the team and the feel of the team? What feels different as far as the organization?
Yeah, so I would say 2016. I kind of separate that from the rest of what's gone on, just because 2016 you still had this incredible defense. The offense still had DT and Emmanuel Sanders and a pretty good offensive line. You go 9-7, you barely miss the playoffs, and you kind of think, okay, well, one off season, we'll reload, we'll be right back, and it just hasn't worked out that way. And I'd say the biggest issue the last few years in my mind is that when something has gone wrong on the field, it's been hard to recover from that. And then one loss becomes two losses, becomes three. And when you lose 3 or 4 games in a row in the league, it's just impossible to make the playoffs. You cannot do it. And so what I felt so far this year is that think about this New York game. You're down 7-3 on the road. That place is really emotional because of the 9/11 tribute, and just that whole weekend had like this energy around it. You go down 7-3, Alberto fumbles in the red zone. And I think in the past, this team would have like a here we go again sort of attitude, and that could have easily gotten out of hand. And I think single-handedly, Teddy Bridgewater has this attitude, this like aura around him that won't let guys fall into that trap. And so, I don't want to put anybody else down, but I don't know if like the last 3 or 4 years, if you win that game in New York going behind the way you did. And Teddy just has this sense about him that keeps everybody steady, that keeps everybody calm. And so on a game-to-game basis, that's what I've noticed. What I'll be really interested to see is we're going to lose at some point here. You're not going to go 17-0. I know. Again,
blasphemy.
Out of my
Nope. That's it. That's it.
Losing fans, kicked me off. But when you do lose, again, I think that this team is now going to have kind of that backbone in Teddy Bridgewater that won't let them lose 2 or 3 in a row because, listen, a road game in Pittsburgh is going to be really hard, or a home game against Baltimore, or going on the road Thursday night in Cleveland, or playing at Dallas, or any of these division games. But you can lose one of those, but can you then come back and win the next week or win a couple in a row the next week? That's how you're going to make the playoffs. And I think this team is at a position where it can do that, but that's kind of the next thing to check off for me is after a loss, can you stop that from spiraling?
Well, speaking of resiliency, which me and Johnny also talked about during the week, this coming week, and I tweeted, I think this is going to be one of the toughest games of the year. The reason why it's not because I don't want to rag on the Jets or anything like that. Not because of Dave Full Glassman. We call him Full Glassman because he's optimistic. He says undefeated 20-0 win the Super Bowl. So clearly, Aric, you're wrong about something.
Yeah, hey, I love it. I'd love to be wrong.
But in regards to resiliency, unfortunately, we went the preseason without any big major injuries, and all of a sudden, in the last couple of weeks, we've been smacked in the face. Josey Jewell's out for the season, unfortunately. He was looking to have an almost Pro Bowl season, a great season. A couple of players, Jerry Jeudy went down. Graham Glasgow was out last week. A couple of players going down, out for a few weeks. Ronald Darby. What do you think? How do you think this game is going to go with some of your starters going down, and you start to see the injuries, and you feel it? Will it weigh down on us, or is it something that we can push to the side, root for the young guys now that we have that backbone to really push and really win this game like we're supposed to?
Yeah, I don't view, and this is bad, I should probably be like parroting the line of every game is a tough one and Broncos have their work. They should roll through the Jets. I mean, they just should. As good as this defense is, with Zach Wilson playing the way he's playing, a young guy, with as good as Teddy Bridgewater's been playing, this should not be an issue. You should win by at least 2 touchdowns, especially at home with that energy. It shouldn't be an issue. So all that to be said is that the kind of the injuries to some guys, maybe that shows up later. But I think as far as this week, this is almost kind of a best case scenario because a guy like Justin Sternad, he can have a chance to kind of get his feet wet. He's played like 23 snaps or something like that in his career. If he can, he gets a whole game now to get his feet wet before you have to play the Ravens in week 4. Malik Reed's he's essentially a 2-year starter that's going to be filling in for Bradley Chubb. You've got
boy, has he done good.
Whew. Yeah, I mean he's been really good, and you've got Pat Surtain in there for Ronald Darby. Mm-hmm. I don't know how they were keeping Pat Surtain off the field to begin with. So I think it speaks to where this team has been. The last few years when you lost to Bradley Chubb, when you lost to Josey Jewell, the depth was not there, and that's when this team really spiraled. The 53 is so much better than it's been really probably since 2016, I would say, and that's a credit. George Payton has done his work, but John Elway, too, has had some draft picks from the last couple of years pan out that are kind of, he's bearing the fruit of some of those selections, Alberto, Sternad. I'm sure I could think of several others. But
Noah Fant.
Right, but in particular, some of these reserve guys that they're not supposed to be playing these starting roles, but just your 2 deep is so much better. So I think they'll be able to hold on. You got to think that the last game, they basically played a half with Josey Jewell, and they shut out the Jaguars offense in the second half with no Jewell, no Chubb, no Darby. And kind of the last thing on injuries is we have been hit hard a little bit. But the thing I'll say is that Jewell is the only one that's from, Vic Fangio hasn't officially said this, but from the reports, Josie Jewell's the only one that is done for the year. So Bradley Chubb's coming back. Ronald Darby's going to be back soon. Michael Ojemudia should be back soon. You got Jerry Jeudy coming back. Even if that's as late as the bye, you're going to have all these guys back, hopefully, for this stretch run. And that's going to be a nice little influx of talent. So you've really just got to, in my eyes, survive these next few weeks, and then you'll kind of get the reinforcements.
Okay. So let me ask you, if you don't mind, I want your opinion on, obviously, watching Chubb go down again this last Sunday. It was painful to watch. I mean, to see a guy of his caliber with, like so angry, and not just his caliber, but his poise. I believe he has that kind of poise. To see him so mad that he's pounding the turf with his fist, it was really hard to watch. And so, what do you think that this spells, for his long term with the Broncos? I mean, I know we picked up his 5th year, and obviously I would love to see Astronaut stay with the Broncos career, but I mean, like, one issue that he's had is staying healthy. It's just on and off and on and off. And it's affecting how much we're going to get to see of him this season. So what do you think it spells for his long term?
Yeah, I mean, it makes the end of this season really important. And George Paton has said he's a core guy, but you're right. You've got to see a core guy on the field. You got to see him contribute. We know how good he can be when he's healthy. We saw that in 2018. We saw it a little bit last year. But yeah, he's got to stay on the field. And I feel bad for Bradley. He is one of the nicest guys in that building, one of my favorite people on the team. He's another guy that, he knows who I am, says hello every time he walks by. And there's a lot of people that work in an NFL, there's 100+ people that normally work in a building. There are plenty of players that do not know everybody's name, certainly don't know the team writer. Bradley has known me from the beginning. I was lucky enough on the morning the morning after Bradley got drafted, I flew back on the plane with him from Dallas to Denver, got to spend some time with him and his family. And
cool.
From that time, I've just been a huge fan of Bradley Chubb. So I hope it works out. He's still good enough, I think, but you're going to have a lot of, you're going to have to make a big decision based on maybe 6 games worth of tape here at the end of the season. And maybe you say, we're not going to extend you before next year. We're going to let it play out into 2022. And then, Bradley's going to have to bet on himself in that case. The Broncos are going to have to say, well, if he goes out and gets 15, 16, 17 sacks in 2022, then we're going to be on the hook to pay him a lot of money or franchise tag him. But yeah, it has not been nearly as, if you had asked somebody after 2018, what's Bradley Chubb's future here? What's his stock? You would have been like, this guy's on pace to, be better than Elvis Dumervil, to be pushing Vaughn for some of these early sack records. And I just feel bad. It hasn't quite worked out that way, but I sure hope he can turn it around.
Yeah, I agree completely. He's young. He's got the best professionals in the world in regards to recovery. Same thing with Jerry Jeudy. So with the 5th year option, that means that if we don't sign him for a long-term contract, he still has the option his 5th year to earn that long-term contract. Is that correct?
Yeah, so he'll be with the team next year. It's guaranteed for injury now under the new CBA. So regardless, he's basically with the team, and then you can work out a contract. Really, it's not like the franchise tag. So he could sign a contract this offseason. He could sign it anytime next year. He could sign it after the season. You could use the franchise tag on him afterwards. So they've got some flexibility, but it just right now it doesn't seem as likely that a long-term deal would happen.
Okay.
Like right now, whereas some teams are already, like I think TJ Watt is in the same draft class, if I'm not mistaken. I could be off on that, but like he just signed a big deal.
Right.
I don't see that being the case for Bradley, at least until he comes back and kind of proves what type of guy he can be.
Right. Okay.
Avatar has a question for you. He says, Aric, what is it like to work with a great guy like Phil Milani?
Is this Avatar guy? Is this Phil? Is he signed on?
If it is, hey Phil, you've ignored my tweets for like 6 months, dude.
He said, "Is this Phil?"
Phil's big time. No, Phil's. We have a good time. We do a podcast together, The Neutral Zone.
I've watched it.
We have a nice time. So he's a goofball. We like to say on the podcast, I kind of bring the analytical side of things. Phil brings the emotional side. He grew up a Broncos fan in Denver, so he's got a little bit more of the history. That guy loves John Elway like nobody else loves John Elway.
That's basically who Johnny is. Johnny.
That's me. Although I have often told everybody, as much as I love John Elway, I mean, I still have the poster back there that used to hang above my bed as a kid of John Elway. My favorite player of all time is Rod Smith. Like
love Rod. Rod is a character.
My reasoning being that I loved that Rod Smith came into the league the same year as Michael Irvin, pretty much undrafted though, and pretty much went almost toe to toe with him in stat wise his whole career. I mean, his what he did, he in my opinion, he is the most grossly underrated wide receiver in the history of the NFL. Like, he's forgotten about way too much, and it really makes me sad. But
yeah, I think some of those guys, the same way that the guys get buried for playing with Peyton, Rod gets buried for playing with John. But he had a good career after John retired too. So I'm with you.
Richie has a question for you. He says, Aric, along the injury line of questions, this is the second year of quite a few injuries. Any rumblings of S and C changes? Strength and conditioning. I was doing the same thing earlier today.
Not that I've heard. And Lauren Landau is the head strength and conditioning coach. I think he's done a nice job. I mean, Luke Richardson was the coach before him in that position, and the team kind of had its share of issues then. I think last year is kind of hard to lump in to this year. And if you listen to Vic Fangio and kind of read between the lines last year, he wasn't real happy with the ramp up period during training camp and kind of off all the soft tissue stuff that happened. That's not Lauren Landau. That was kind of the NFLPA agreement. Every team had it. Every team had to deal with it. But I do think that was probably a contributing factor to last season. And this year, guys they get hurt. It's not as many. It doesn't seem like soft tissue type of things. Like, you can't help that Bradley Chubb has a bone spur in his ankle. That has nothing to do with how you're warming up or how you're, stretching before the game. Who else am I thinking of? That Mike Boone with the quad and Ronald Darby with the hamstring. Those are soft tissue things, but those things just happen in a game. And you look at the Ravens who are playing in it. I've already kind of started looking ahead, which is bad. But the Ravens have all sorts of injury issues, and if Vic Fangio and the team were to, say things went terribly wrong the rest of the year and they were to part ways and bring in a new head coach, maybe something would change. But I think that's less about Lauren's performance and more just about kind of a head coach bringing their own people in. And I'm sure that decision would be made in concert with George Payton, the GM. So they've got these things that track how much these guys run, and they've got specialized programs for each player, and they've brought in kind of the best people they can find. So it's hard for me to blame Lauren for this, but I do understand that when these things start happening, people want an answer, and I think the issue is it's just part of the game, and sometimes you get unlucky.
Yeah, and that's what it was last season. It was like, I mean, I think during the 2020 season, I constantly asked Isaiah, I was like, how much of that do you think is just bad luck, and how much do you think is a shortcoming when it comes to strength and conditioning? And I didn't know the answer. I didn't know what to say. There was just something about last season, the rash. I mean, it was a pandemic of its own of injuries for the Broncos last season. To have it what is it? How many do we have right now in IR? 11.
Yeah, and the IR thing to me this year is like a little bit misleading, and it was last year too because of the 3-week IR where you can come back. So every team is going to look like they have more guys on IR because in the past you would have had to keep Ronald Darby on your active roster, and he just would have been out for 4 weeks or 5 weeks or whatever it ends up being, and you just have another guy out. Like this week, there's 2 guys that are questionable, Glasgow and Mike Purcell. In the past, it'd be like Ronald Darby is out, Michael Ojemudia is out, Mike Boone is out, Bradley Chubb is out. And I guess Bradley Chubb could have been like your one IR guy, but the 3-week thing just kind of, it skews how big the IR list is, how small the game reports are. So I think it's a good change because it helps keep healthy players on your active roster. But comparing the length of IR now to before is kind of tough.
Okay.
Well, Phil Milani, Avatar, I'm sorry, excuse me. He says, I absolutely love the neutral zone with you and Phil, Eric. Alexis Perry and Sidney Jones have a great show in the snap as well. So definitely got some fans for you. Whatever you're doing, keep up the good work. We have a quick MHRT fantasy update because we have a fantasy league that we started. KB82 says, I played Isaiah this week in fantasy. I lost. I know you did. He said, but I'm happy I didn't lose 101-82. KB82, he's also a veteran. He was in the 82nd Airborne. Johnny and I were in the 101st Airborne, so the score of 101-82. So yeah, he lost this week, which I knew would happen. Mundungus says, are you allowed to put children on IR? I'm tired and I need a good 3-week break. Mundungus, congratulations on your brand new child and your beautiful addition to your family. Congratulations. Cheers to you and your family.
His beautiful daughter was born a few days ago. And,
congratulations, brother. Congratulations. So, Eric, can you put children on IR?
I'll have to look into that. I'll have to get back to you guys.
Okay,
do you have children, Eric?
I do not. I have a dog.
Okay.
He's
as soon as you do have children, you'll understand why he asked that question.
I believe
it. So let's see. Savior G, welcome to the show, Savior G.
What's up, Savior?
I believe I've seen Savior on MHRT Podcast before.
He's been on our show as well before.
Has he? Okay. Mm-hmm. Welcome to the show, Savior G. It's good to have you in. Richie Rich says Mundungus, stop making those kids.
Yeah, was that his 6th child?
6th child. Whew.
Oh my goodness.
He's been busy. He's been busy. On our fantasy league, Dave Glassman says he lost McCaffrey last night. He's screwed for a few weeks.
I just put in Odell Beckham because he's coming back this week, so I just put him back in my starting lineup. So,
my starting lineup has pretty much remained the same, although I did rotate in Brandon Cooks into the flex this week, and he did well for me. So
who'd you replace him with?
No, I replaced what's his name? Brandon Ayuk.
With, that's a much better.
It was a better pick. It was a better choice.
Eric, this week 3 home opener.
Yeah.
Woo!
Give me the keys to the game. What offense and defense, special teams, whatever you believe the keys are to the game for us to beat the Jets, whether it's close, by a lot, a blowout, whatever the case, to not lose, whatever the case may be. What are the keys to the game?
Yeah, I think this game's a lot about the Broncos kind of fixing some things that they've done wrong. I want to discredit the Jets too much, but I just think, like I said before, the fact that Zach Wilson's a rookie, threw 4 picks, they're not – Trevor Lawrence, some of his mistakes, like against Houston and us, they were like – he tried to make a play and just was a little bit late with the ball. They weren't bad decisions. They were just kind of some mechanical things. Zach Wilson made some bad decisions against New England and threw 4 picks. So I just have a hard time believing he's not going to struggle, that Von Miller's not going to get home. So the things I'm looking at are all Broncos-based. So staying with the defense, can you start strong? Because the issue the last couple of weeks has been, against the Giants, you give up that big pass. I think it might have been Sterling Shepard, if I'm remembering correctly.
It was.
Where Kyle Fuller had the pass interference, and they don't have scoring, but they move into scoring range. And then last week against Jacksonville, obviously Trevor Lawrence goes right down the field, 5 of 7. He's got like 70-something yards. He looks incredible, and you're like, oh, no, we're in for a long day. And the defense has figured it out both weeks, but when you play the Ravens or the Steelers or the Browns or the Chiefs or whoever it might be, you can't spot them 7 points. You can't just let them go down the field and kind of figure this out. So they've got to be better defensively right at the beginning of the game, force a 3 and out, get the ball back, and kind of go from there.
Ground and pound.
Exactly.
Thank you. Exactly. I said this in the group message, and I don't know who it was, but somebody yelled at me, and I was like, and I said the exact same thing. You heard it from Eric yourself, so therefore my sources are verified. I said we have to start off fast because I said when we play the Ravens or the Chiefs, we may not always have that opportunity to always rely on our defense. And then so I'll add another key to the game, which Johnny just said, is on reverse on offense. Our rushing game, our run blocking has to improve greatly. And I'd have to assume Fangio and Mike Munchak definitely hammered that in this week because with both dynamic running backs, there's no reason why we have to struggle, or the only way we get over 100 rushing yards is if Melvin Gordon breaks a 70-yard touchdown.
Right.
I mean, if we have the great wide receivers, play action works best when the running game is incredible. And like you said, this is the game where we fine-tune and fix things. And for me, it's hopefully Mike Purcell comes back. It's defensive line penetration. Von Miller has 3 sacks in the first 2 games, which is fantastic. Malik Reed led the team in sacks last season. My thing is we can't just rely on our edge rushers to put pressure on the quarterback. Shelby Harris has to step up this week. Draymond Jones and Mike Purcell. You have to collapse that pocket, especially with a young quarterback, and especially when you play the Ravens and Lamar Jackson. You have to put great pressure. So for me, it's the run game and interior defensive line.
So what other keys do you see as being very important to this win, Aric?
Yeah, no, I think those are you're right on the money there defensively. Another one defensively, Justin Strnad. I want to see how he kind of handles things mentally, because next week you're going to get tested with misdirection, with all these sorts of different play, things where the Ravens want you to look one place and they're going the other one. So you got to get that right. On offense, I look at, the running game I think has actually been okay. I'm kind of in the boat that it's maybe the demise of the running game has been overstated a little bit. Teams have been selling out to stop the run, which is why play action has worked. So last year in Carolina, Teddy Bridgewater threw the play action 90 times. He's thrown it 20 in 2 games with the Broncos, and he's been really, really good at it. So they've been using it a lot here. That's 10 per game. Yeah, 10 per game so far in Denver, 6 per game last year in Carolina. So Shermer's been dialing that up. Javonte Williams had almost 5 yards a carry last game. He looks impressive to me. Cool. So I think the run game is okay. It's the third down to me is where you got to improve. They were 2 of 11 last week. You got to be better when you play some of these better teams, and it should be a good test because the Jets, I think, are second in the NFL in third down defense. So
interesting. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, that starts on first and second down. Obviously, you can't have. They had, I think, if I'm remembering correctly, 7 third downs of at least 8 yards against the Jaguars. So you've got to be a little bit better early in those downs, and then special teams to me just you got to figure out the coverage, because it didn't hurt you against the Jaguars, but again, kind of like what I was saying before about you can't fall in a hole against some of these better teams. If you give up a kickoff return for a touchdown against the Ravens or the Chiefs or the Chargers, it's going to kill you. So that's got to stop. They got to find a way. They added another guy, Micah Kaiser. Sorry, you've added like 6 guys this week. Micah Kaiser. He's apparently going to play special teams on Sunday. He's going to be active. So he can make an immediate impact. And you've added Mike Ford, Jonas Griffith. So they've kind of made a commitment to this, but you've got to see it pay off here. And would love to see him cover some kicks. And, worst case, I asked Tom McMahon this today. I said, is Brandon McManus capable every time, if he wanted to, of kicking it out of the end zone? And he said, yeah. So we'll see what sort of strategy there is there, because maybe you don't get the tackle at the 15-yard line, but if you just kick it out of bounds every time or through the end zone, they can't score. So to me, it's worth thinking about.
Inside scoop. That right there was the inside scoop. He asked Tom McMahon, and he told us.
I like that he literally just said he asked Tom McMahon, because I'm going to be honest with you, Aric. Tom McMahon is probably like I have some issues with Tom McMahon, and I have for several years, and I know that I'm not the only one. I'm sure you haven't heard that before. This is not the first time you've heard it. So
the issue is some of it has been the depth. Like the last year when you're down to 4th string corners on your defense, that means that the special teams guys are not NFL caliber players. And so at that point your hands are tied. But yeah, Tom would agree now that they need to be better. They've got the talent there. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how they handle that.
Okay. We have some questions here for you in the comment section from some of our viewers, which is awesome. Guys, keep them coming, because this is your chance to get inside scoop from someone in the building. All right. So,
Aric is always the one asking questions and pressing people. Now is the time to press him. Give him his own medicine. Ask him all the questions.
Quit scaring him. You're going to scare him.
I like it. Bring it on.
Let's go. So real quick, this one, this was amended from what he typed out earlier. KB82 asks, Aric, of all the players filling in for injured starters, who has the best chance to keep the job going forward?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a cop-out answer, but I think Pat Surtain is the –
I knew you were going to say that. I was going to say, except Patrick Surtain, but I'll let you have it.
Well, I mean, I don't know that anybody else, like, if Josie Jewell were coming back, he would get the job back. If when Bradley Chubb comes back, he'll get the job back. Who else? I mean – like Mike Boone's role might be a little bit smaller, and Michael Ojemudia was always going to be kind of lower on the depth chart. But yeah, I mean, I don't see how you take Pat Surtain off the field. So that means you're going to have to figure out, is Kyle Fuller or Ronald Darby the other starter, and kind of go from there. So, and if it's, if you decide we're going to keep Kyle Fuller on the field, then you've got a guy that you just gave a big deal to on the sideline. And if you decide, Ronald Darby needs to be on the field, then you've got a guy in Kyle Fuller that's a veteran and all pro that's on the sideline. And that's good news. I think that speaks to how good Pat Surtain is. The Broncos have not had good production at all turnover-wise from their corners the last few years. I think last year, 3 interceptions from all their cornerbacks, and we already saw in week 2 that incredible play that Surtain made, the body control, the awareness, shielding the defender, or the receiver. I mean, gosh, that's a heck of a play.
It was.
And a couple things regarding that. I was thinking about this earlier this week. Number one, I was also thinking about Bryce Callahan. This is a contract year for him, and Kyle Fuller's on a 1-year deal. Yeah. So if you sign Ronald Darby to 3 years and Patrick Surtain is your other outside defender, does that mean, is it between the 2 former Chicago Bears, Bryce Callahan and Kyle Fuller, who you bring back? If you gave Ronald Darby 3 years, Patrick Surtain is a rookie doing great. Yeah, and the second thing was, I believe, if I'm correct, we have 3 turnovers in 2 games, which is already higher production than last year. Deshaun Williams forced a fumble. No, I believe that was Josie. I think it was Deshaun Williams that forced. Josie Jewell forced a fumble, and then Kareem Jackson and Patrick Surtain both have interceptions, which is what Vic Fangio harped on in the offseason was turnovers. And then we didn't even talk about Justin Simmons, who led the league in interceptions for free safeties. He was just warming up. So, what do you think? Is it between Kyle Fuller and Bryce Callahan in the offseason, or how do you see that rotation going with Patrick Surtain playing dime and nickel? I mean, what are you thinking about that?
I mean, I would be surprised if Surtain comes off the field again, knock on wood that he stays healthy. But I would leave him outside. When you're in nickel, I would put Bryce Callahan in the slot. He's been so good there the last couple of years. Probably was a Pro Bowler last year if he doesn't get healthy or doesn't get injured, rather. And so I think next year maybe you try to keep Bryce Callahan and see what happens with Fuller. But the thing about Callahan is that he hasn't been able to stay healthy. And so I do think you're going to need all 4 of these guys at some point this season. Obviously, we've already seen Darby go out. He doesn't have the best injury history. Bryce Callahan has not made it through a full season. So you kind of hope that everybody stays okay and you're making a tough decision. But I kind of expect that at some point, even if it's just a couple games, you're going to need both Fuller and Callahan and Darby to kind of supplement the Surtain there.
Okay.
Richie says, Aric, the new addition Aaron Patrick looks similar in size and build to DeMarcus Ware. Have you seen him practice and how he compares to our other outside linebackers?
He does look a lot like DeMarcus Ware. We were remarking that today watching practice. He's wearing 94. He's got the bald head. He's jacked like DeMarcus. I did a double take because it looked like DeMarcus Ware was back in 94. I would assume he's not quite as good as DeMarcus Ware. I don't know that for sure, but that's just an early guess. But no,
time will tell.
That's true. No, I guess he had a sack in the preseason. Haven't seen him too much yet. I think, did he sign yesterday or Wednesday? The days all kind of blur together during the season. But
I think it was yesterday. I think.
We'll have to see. He's a guy that obviously I would think they want to contribute on special teams and gives them some depth at edge, which hopefully lets them keep Baron Browning inside. I don't necessarily love the idea of moving him back and forth. We saw that kind of backfire with Justin Hollins a couple years ago.
Yes, we did.
I like giving Baron Browning one spot to focus on and keep him there. But yeah, we'll see with Aaron Patrick. I mean, what I like about what George Payton has done is he's kind of churned the roster. He'll see, like a Nate McCrary, for example. You bring him in for a few weeks, you see, does he have something? You decide no, you kind of move along to the next guy. So we'll see how long Aaron Patrick sticks, but definitely good to have depth at that spot.
He's giving everyone a chance. That's what it seems like when he rotates. Yep. He's not just giving you. You're just going to stay on the practice squad. Yeah. That's it. You're a practice squad hero. He's like, okay, let me bring you up. I don't like that. Let me bring you back down. Rotate you. Go out there for another team. KB82 says, I can see Sternad keeping the job and hope to get Josie back at somewhat of a discount considering his injury.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what they do at linebacker in the offseason because Alexander Johnson is an unrestricted free agent. Josie Jewell's an unrestricted free agent. If you like a gun to my head right now, I would probably keep Josie of those two guys. I've just been really impressed. I mean, that game against Jacksonville, he was the best player on defense for the first half. So all over the place.
His pass coverage and improved greatly. I think he had maybe one or two pass breakups before he got injured, and that was a big thing for Broncos defense going into the season, which was really one of our weak link was a linebacker that's good in pass coverage that can cover the tight ends, and he had a couple pass breakups, so he really stepped up. And this being a contract year, unfortunately, he's injured. But I think he's younger than Alexander Johnson, if I'm correct. But I definitely like Josie Jewell, and a lot of people were saying I think he was ranked as number 6 amongst linebackers so far this season before he got injured. So he was really making waves and making big steps, and it's unfortunate he got injured.
So yeah, I mean, there's this perception that he's like kind of just the cerebral guy that gets guys in place, but I mean, he's plenty athletic. That he made a rush at Trevor Lawrence. He tackled Laviska Shenault for like an 8-yard loss in the backfield on kind of a swing pass. I mean, he's made plays. He had, I think, 2 sacks last year against the Jets in New York. He's a good player, and so.
Well, I will say, I feel like he has looked more athletic this season than he has in the past. Yeah. So he definitely did something in the offseason before this injury, obviously, to pick it up.
Definitely.
Avatar wants to know, Aric, whose idea was it to create My Why? They are very inspirational.
Yeah, that was Sydney Jones, one of our other team reporters. She wanted to kind of show a different side to some of these guys. So she's done one with Deshaun Williams on his path to the active roster, kind of furthering a story that I was able to do last year. So he went like, I want to say 1,300 days or something like that. Sorry, my dog is now scratching. If you guys can hear the thumping.
I have 3 kids and 2 dogs and a wife. Okay, you ain't gotta talk to me about it.
My dog was humping his new bed last week. So
yeah, on the podcast, live in the background.
Yeah, live. You're okay, Aric. We have the most. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. I want to hear. Yeah.
We have the most important question for you of the night. This is going to stump you. Okay. We've been planning for this. So the question is, and it comes from Mundungus Creepy. So if you're uncomfortable answering it, we try not to get into religion or politics here, but I think this is a personal question we need to ask you. If you're uncomfortable, just let us know. So it says, Aric, T-Rex sized chicken or 100 chicken sized T-Rexes? So if you're uncomfortable, just let us know.
That question was asked on the field during training camp. We've been asking it ever since.
I see. Yeah, one of those Showtime cams.
Yeah, one of the Showtime cams. The question of the day.
Yeah.
And it's just continued.
I think I would go with T-Rex sized chicken.
I don't understand you people.
Right,
I don't get it.
I agree with him. I agree with Aric. 100%. Why, Aric?
I just think a chicken sized T-Rex is still a pretty decent size, and you got a lot of teeth going on. They're probably much more aggressive. So you got to worry about that. It's kind of like you could fight off a couple toddlers if they came at you, or like young kids. If you're swarmed, you're in trouble. So I think one big chicken, you could find a way. You find a big deep fryer, get some drumsticks going.
What is with you guys in food? I don't understand. Everybody, when people choose that, they already
I agree with Aric. I'm like, what? I have agreed with on the same principle as Aric the entire time we've been asking this question, which to me is it's a lot easier to keep your eye on one big thing than it is on 100 little things that are all trying to kill you.
I disagree. KB82 coming in strong today. He says we need to get Isaiah MHRT beer mug. Nope, that's okay. I'm cool with this. I'm going back to my Los Angeles roots. I'm drinking 40s. He also says I think the game was also
good.
I'm from LA. He says I think the game was also slowing down for Josie, and I agree with that. I definitely agree with that. Like everybody said, he was more athletic. He was definitely flying around the ball, making plays. My favorite Josie Jewell play of all time was when he had put that hit on Derrick Henry last year. That'd just be my favorite play. And he's making yard for lost tackles. And he was doing great.
I want to bring this one up real quick. A 6'10" Mexican, one of our colleagues says, "Fun fact: my beer bottles are not twist offs. I'm just that strong." Thanks, buddy. I appreciate that.
So, Aric. We've been asking everybody, especially because we're the last podcast before Sunday. and then we always go through, and everybody goes through in the comments. So we're going to ask you final score.
Okay.
Teddy Bridgewater stats for this Sunday.
Okay. Score-wise, I'll go 31-6.
Woo! Wow. Good God.
Oh, man.
That's a blowout.
Look,
all right.
The goosebumps. They're right there.
No, I think it's going to be a nice day for Denver. I think it's going to be fun to have all the fans back. They're going to have something to cheer about. So 31-6. Teddy stats. I think 3 touchdown passes. I think he'll get if I'm saying 31, we got to get 4 touchdowns. I think he'll score 1 himself. So 4 total touchdowns for Teddy. It wouldn't surprise me if the passing yards are below 300, just because I think the running game's going to get going a little bit here.
Okay.
But these completions every week I think are going to be really, really high.
Oh, look at you, Isaiah.
I'm writing this down, Aric, so I can hold you accountable.
Yeah.
You said 31-6, 4 TDs. Okay. And you said under 300.
I think so, yeah.
I mean, I would love to see the run game pick up. I mean, we have 2, in the form of Melvin Gordon and Pookie Williams. I'm sorry, I almost called him a different name. I almost said Devontae Williams. Good dude, but wrong position. Between the two of them, I think Aric got muted. Oh, there we go.
I got you.
There we go. I was like, I saw you laughing, and I was like, wait a minute, I can't hear him laugh. But no, like we have 2 that are really on par, I think, to just really blow up together as a tandem, as a 1-2 punch. And if we can, like you said it earlier, ground and pound, as far as like the fast start, I think if we could do the same thing early on with the run game, start like right at the middle, like not none of this. Granted, jet sweeps and stuff look great, and even I would love to see us involve the wide receivers a little bit with some screenplays. Like I want to see some wide receiver screens. We have not seen any wide receiver screens in a long time.
That's true.
But I'm just saying, like,
even with that run,
if we just keep pounding up the middle, we're gonna tire out that interior defensive line. And there, and now it's just a matter of opening it up.
What does Quinn Williams line up over?
I think he's an interior defensive lineman, if I'm not mistaken. So I would assume he's going to be somewhere in there. If I were them, I would, put him over
Our right guard.
Yeah, well, I think Muti might almost be a better run blocker than Dalton right now. Dalton's definitely better in pass protection, but Muti he's strong, man.
So
I agree. He's
Aric,
definitely.
I kind of felt like when I was watching replay of this last game that Natani kind of looked stiff. Like I struggled watching him. I felt like he looked almost stiff as a board. He was not flowing very well. Maybe I was just misreading. So what is your take on how Natani Muti has stepped in and filled that position for Graham Glasgow?
No, I'm not just and I forgot that I guess Graham will be back this weekend too. So should be or he's listed as questionable, but they think unless something goes wrong between now and then that he'll be in. Muti's a work in progress. There's great plays. You can see the athleticism, the size. There's also times like on that sack where he gets, he just whiffs or, it's not quite perfect yet, but I think he's got a strong future. I'm no offensive line expert by any means, so I don't know that I could tell you kind of the intricacies of it, but the depth there has been pretty good, but they've got to get I think the interior offensive line can be a strength just because of all the talent you have there. They just got to still put it together here after the first couple weeks, I think.
So can I ask on the same note? I'm sorry, Isaiah. Do you mind real quick?
Go ahead, Johnny. I know what you're going to ask.
On the same note, so what is your position on Cushenberry? Like I like Cush,
that was the question I was going to ask. I knew what you were going to ask.
I feel like he's really been struggling to get Cush can't push.
Yeah. I like Lloyd a lot. I think he's very smart. It's clear that Miners was not ready. Otherwise, they would have had him compete during training camp. And I don't know that he took a single first team snap until maybe near the very end as they were just kind of practicing worst case scenarios. The snapping was an issue for Quinn. Lloyd, I think some of it is still, like he's definitely stronger. He looks different. He doesn't look kind of the same. You can tell these guys year 1 to year 2, like you look like a college kid the first year, even these NFL players. And then year 2, you look like a grown man. And I think Lloyd he's kind of come into that, but I wonder if some of it is still trying to play fast enough where you can use that strength, or if, having Muti there and you got to help him, does that impact your ability to play kind of as well as you can? So we'll have to see. I kind of have faith that Lloyd can still work out, but it's definitely something to watch. I kind of expected him to take a bigger step a little bit faster. So
if I can say, I really miss Matt Paradis.
Yeah, and Connor McGovern was a good center too. I thought he'll be back here this weekend with the Jets, so that'll be interesting.
That's
to
true.
see.
I forgot he's on the Jets now.
Well, I do agree with you that Netani Muti is a better run blocker. He needs work on pass coverage, and Lloyd Cushenberry as well. But we have the best offensive line coach in the NFL, and this is what he's good at with Garrett Bowles and what he did with Garrett Bowles and Dalton Reisner. And I think that minus Bobby Massey, I'd like to see Calvin Anderson, but I think we have a homegrown offensive line. And going real quick to the comments, Avatar says 35-7 Broncos and Jets score a punt return. So no faith in special teams, but they own their offense as a score. The defense is a score at special teams 35-7. And Richie disagrees with you, Aric. He says, Aric, I disagree. New York Jets have a weaker secondary. I think Teddy goes over 300. I'd like that. Mundungus says 42-7. Defense scores 21. Offense scores 21. That's a great outing.
That would be a phenomenal stat.
WizKid, a great home opener. WizKid says Zach Wilson throws 5 picks. That's wow. You guys have I love our fans.
I do too.
KB82 says,
you. I'm sorry, I was pulling it up.
He says, do the Jets still have Greg Williams? He blitzed the heck out of us last season.
I thought he left, but I'm not.
I think Greg Williams is no longer a Jet. I don't remember where he went, but I think
he's not. He's not with them anymore.
Richie says 31-16 Broncos. That's more where I'm leaning. KB82 says 27-10 Broncos.
So he's predicting the same score I predicted this last week for the Jaguars game. 27.
And we also have a question for you because you have the inside scoop. He says, did we ever actually find out what happened with Glasgow? What the cause of the irregular heartbeat was?
No, they've been kind of quiet with it. He went to the hospital to be evaluated. They ran some tests. Sounds like he came back to Denver and they ran more tests. Those must have gone well because he's playing this weekend. It sounds like, unless something
have you seen him in practice?
Here. Yeah, he looks fine. I mean, even last week he went through the stretch. He was a full participant yesterday and today. But I would assume that they've received confirmation that nothing bad is going to happen, because you can't put the guy out there if there's a risk of some sort of heart issue. So I would assume that they've figured it out. I don't know what the course of action was, but I'm glad Graham's okay. That's a scary situation. We were talking about today. I can understand, you're like when you had too much caffeine or something and you can feel your heart racing, or I can understand first game of the year, there's fans back. Maybe you convince yourself I just feel a little weird. So it doesn't surprise me that he played through it, but gosh, really, really glad that nothing terrible was going on.
Yeah, because you don't want any given Sunday situation where he goes down on the field. So DG King, I believe that's
I gotta say, I feel attacked by this comment. I think both of us are being attacked, Isaiah, because you're short and I'm handicapped.
First off, Johnny, he wasn't even talking about us, but thanks
for
No.
He said a team of handicapped midgets could beat the Jets. Okay, I'm handicapped and you are short.
I'm not a midget, so don't. And is that a new name, DG King?
It is. It's a new name on Twitch.
Welcome DG King to the show. Welcome. Cheers.
Quit making fun of us. Yeah. Oh, that's right. Sorry. We cheers to our new names.
Cheers. He says,
stop making fun of us. You don't know anything about my handicap or
Richie says, DG King, I'm over 5 feet. Leave me alone. So welcome, DG King. Thank you. Welcome to the comments. Welcome to the podcast. Glad to have you here.
I'm not reading DG King's next one because that one's a shot at Aric, and I'm not reading it. I want Aric to want to come back. Okay. You know what, Aric? If it's all right with you, I will amend what DG King said and say it a little differently. He says this. I said Aric Dilalla looks like a young Peyton Manning. How about that?
Okay, I'll take it.
We'll go with that.
KB82 has a question for you. He says, Aric, did you play football growing up? And if so, what position?
Not well. I played in high school. I played safety in high school for a couple years. Was injured my senior season, but I was one of those guys that if I needed the growth spurt a little bit earlier. If I, sophomore year of college, I was ready to. I could have played really well in high school, but back then it wasn't big enough. But no, loved the game. Was glad to be able to play it, but was no star.
You were much happier writing about it.
Exactly.
You're in the NFL, so even the dudes in high school that were really good on the NFL aren't in the NFL, and you're in the NFL.
That's true.
So hey, you made it. You made it to the pros. So it paid off. It paid off somehow. So congratulations to that. So I didn't give my Johnny. What's your prediction? So I have 31-6 from Aric. What is your prediction?
Aric says 31-6.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna say 34.
34.
I'm gonna give it 10. I'm gonna give the Jets 10.
34-10. I like that.
All that is, I'm gonna give the Jets a field goal. At least a field goal within the first, probably in like maybe the third quarter. I think we're gonna beat them back the first half. Third quarter, we give them a field goal. Then during garbage time, they might score a touchdown. But that's simply it's garbage time,
Okay.
But at that point, 34-10.
Teddy Bridgewater stats.
I predict. I kind of agree with Aric that the run game is going to really take off, but I'm going to kind of play the fence on this. I think he's going to get just over 300 yards, like 302, 304, something close. I predict he goes. I'm gonna predict he goes like 24 for 30.
Oh, you're getting specific. Keep
24
going.
for 30 on passes.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to predict he also rushes himself for at least 30 yards in the game.
I'm running out of paper, Johnny.
Well,
how many passing
bigger
touchdowns?
paper, Isaiah.
How many passing touchdowns?
3.
Okay, so I'm gonna go because I like to get very specific.
Yeah, sorry, you go.
The score is obviously is going to be 35-17, obviously, because I know these things. 35-17. Teddy Bridgewater is going to have 327 yards and 3 TDs.
Okay.
Javonte Williams hasn't had his first NFL touchdown yet, has he?
No, he has not.
He'll get it.
I can't wait to see
He will get it. And Melvin Gordon will have one as well. I'm pretty sure I went over the score. Wait, 3 touchdowns, 1 each? Yeah, okay, so that works. And I'm going to say 327 yards, 3 TDs. But speaking of great performances, I was worried about Courtland Sutton before the season started.
Yes.
I don't have a crow to eat.
I can get you one.
Aric, how did you feel about Courtland Sutton's game against the Jaguars last week?
Yeah, well, I knew ahead of the season that he was going to have a 159-yard game against the Jaguars. I just kind of felt it. No, I was nervous too. He didn't look the same in training camp, and it's hard to tell. He's always been a guy that he's not the fastest guy. He doesn't come out of his cuts the fastest. That's how he's always been. But I think because we hadn't seen it in so long, it was a little more jarring maybe. But yeah, just what an incredible performance by him. Happy for him. A really good sign for Denver that with Judy out. And I think this is someone went after me on Twitter because I was writing about the Judy injury. And I said, one unintended benefit of this might be that Courtland Sutton gets more involved because he just had 1 catch against the Giants. And lo and behold, he had 9 catches for 159.
Oh,
so I think even when Judy comes back, he should still kind of continue that momentum. But yeah, great news for the Broncos. Great news for Courtland. That's awesome.
Can I ask you on the Courtland Sutton line? What right now, like I told you, who my favorite Bronco in history is Rod Smith. Right now, my favorite player on the team is Courtland Sutton.
Okay.
What kind of guy is he like off the field though?
He's a great guy. He's another one of those guys that 2018 class I think was like the captain class where a lot of those guys had gone back for another year of school. They're all really mature. Nice guy. He's an unquestioned leader of that locker room. Not a diva the way that some other guys have been. Just a good guy. And so he's the type of person that you want to extend. I think it'll be interesting to see what happens next year because you obviously can't pay Cortland top dollar and Tim Patrick, big contract, and have Jerry Jeudy making what he's making. So it'll be interesting to decide kind of which direction they go. And I thought before the season that it was going to end up being extend Tim Patrick on a medium level deal and kind of see what happens with Cortland. But if Cortland plays this way, you can't let him go. So
it's tough because Cortland had a great, incredible top 3 receiving game last week against the Jaguars. But at the same time, Tim Patrick leads the Broncos in receiving touchdowns. So, I mean, it sucks, but it's bittersweet because you may not be able to keep them both. But it's sweet because that's a great problem to have. Yep. One receiver that you can keep is leading the team in receiving touchdowns. The other one had a great game. We have Trey coming in.
Real quick, timeout. I want to say something. I'm getting a warning, okay? DG King, your first few comments were fun. All right, we're getting to the point now. This is a family show. More comments like the one that just popped up, I'm going to kick you. This is your warning. You're more than welcome to stay on and enjoy the show. But I'm not going to. But we are a family show. We are a clean show. We're not going to be doing that kind of stuff in here. That's your warning.
Yes.
Go right back into it, Isaiah.
Trey is in. He says, Aric, what was the moment you decided literary awesomeness in football were your bread and butter? Good question.
Yeah.
By the way, this is my one of my other best friends, a former Army battle buddy who currently lives here in my house and is actually downstairs from me right now.
Trey.
Nice. Well, thank you for your service too. I would say early. Like I remember in 4th grade, I put together in my class. I set up a classroom newspaper and picked NFL games and would go deliver it across the school to different classrooms. So that's probably the earliest memory I have of combining those 2
grade?
things. Yeah, pretty early.
Wow. That's really impressive.
I recently got picked up doing Broncos beat writer for Denver Nosebleeds.
Okay.
And I've written a few articles. I'm actually pretty proud of it. I didn't do newspaper. I did high school newspaper, and that was when I first fell in love with it. But that was high school. You're talking 4th grade, Aric. Like, holy cow.
Yeah, I think my quality is hopefully a little better now than it was back then, but
probably
the pick percentage is probably just about the same.
That's impressive dedication and determination for a 8-9-10-year-old to write it and then pass it out. I mean, that's serendipity. So WizKid always coming in with the crazy stats. He says Cortland Sutton 32 catches, 325 yards, and 3 TDs because every pass will go to Sutton.
Oh, good Lord.
We also have Mundungus coming in. He says 325 yards and 3 TDs, which is close to mine. I said 327 yards and 3 TDs. Richie says 31 of 40, 325 yards, 3 TDs. So it's everybody's saying the same 320, 3 TDs.
I kept it right around 300. I think he's going to hover like right around that.
Dave Glassman says 80% completion, 250 yards, 2 touchdowns, over 200 combined rushing yards, and 2 touchdowns, 1 defensive touchdown, shutout 35-0.
That is so specific, Dave.
That's Madden. That's almost scary.
Hey, you
over
know what?
200 combined rushing yards. Hey, I'm not knocking you for Glassman. If we get it, I love it. If you like it, I love it.
Okay, I'm going to bring this one up, Isaiah, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
Bill Baggins. That's a new name on our show.
What's up, Bill?
Welcome to the show. Cheers to you, my friend. We cheers every one of our new fans. If you have not already, please subscribe, share it out there, like the video. We would really appreciate it. Bill Baggins asks, do you believe the coaches still believe Locke has something as an eventual starter and will hang on to him, or are they wanting to trade him off? What do you think, Aric?
Yeah. Try to avoid this.
I just think as long as Teddy's playing this way, no one else should be on the field. I mean, he's good. I've got a story coming out tomorrow, I think, about Teddy was on pace to be a franchise guy in Minnesota, had the injury, but there's no reason to think that it's not possible Teddy could show that he's good enough to be a top 10, top 15 guy, and if he's that, you got to think about moving forward with him. Things are tough for Drew now, and I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. He had 2019 where he got 5 starts. He got an unquestioned year as a starter, got the chance to prove himself in the competition. Just not a lot of guys get that chance again with the team. Now, you hope that Teddy stays healthy, but if Drew were to have to come in and played really well, then maybe that's a path for him. But if Teddy leads this team to the playoffs, I have a hard time believing that they're going to say, okay, well, we're back to Drew next year. I don't know what that means if he says I want to go somewhere else. I want to stay as a backup. But the only real path is if you don't make it to the playoffs, you decide not to re-sign Teddy, so Drew's still under contract. You draft a young guy instead of getting a vet, and Drew is like the starter to begin the year. But even then, like if you draft a quarterback high, you're probably going to go to that guy soon anyway. So, yeah, I don't think the odds are great that he ends up a long-term starter here. At least, he's a nice guy, and I thought he handled the situation well. But I don't know that it's going to happen here in Denver.
You're lucky.
I said that to you, Isaiah.
You're lucky Eric's on the show, Johnny, because I was going to give you a hand sign. But Eric, I mean, he asked it. I understand, Bill, why you asked it. Johnny and I are definitely Drew Lock fans. Johnny and I were at the draft out here in Tennessee in Nashville because that's basically where we live. And Johnny called it. We drafted Drew Lock. And we were Drew Lock fans. We always want the homegrown franchise quarterback. And you're right. If I've come around to Teddy. I'm a fan of Teddy because I'm a Broncos fan. If Teddy holds steady and we go to the playoffs, Teddy, he's on a 1-year deal. He'll get that franchise money. But like you said, if we don't make the playoffs, we won't draft too early. But I think we definitely have Drew in the wings coming on, the possibility of a fourth year, drafting a young quarterback and handing over the reins back to Drew. But I told Johnny this yesterday. If Drew does get traded, he's going to go to one or two teams. Eric, write this down.
Okay.
I'm calling it now. He's going to go to the Steelers or he's going to go to the Washington football team. Those are the two teams. Those are two teams that are going to trade for him. Big Ben got injured. It's not looking too good for Big Ben. Ryan Fitzpatrick got injured, and their backups are, who's Washington football team's backups? Don't even know their names. And I think
he is currently the starter.
I think they'll most likely send him to Washington to get him. They don't want him in the division. Get him out of the AFC. Send him to the NFC. So those are my two picks.
All right, Lonnie Dugan. All right, I just blocked someone for throwing some nastiness into the chat. You keep talking about these Cowboys. All right, you're going to get blocked too. No, I'm joking. This is the guy I was talking about that lives here right now in my home. It's funny. He grew up near Dallas, Texas. And unfortunately for him, he sleeps in this room in my man cave. And I'm trying so hard to convert him and make it, like through osmosis, convert him to the orange and blue. Because I feel I honestly feel bad for him being a Cowboys fan. I mean, I really do. Like Jerry Jones, like, come on, man. Like, just for your own sake, just jump ship. Come to the good side. Come to the light side. Get away from the dark side, Dugan. All right. So KB82 says Javonte Williams, 21 carries for 93 yards and 2 touchdowns. I can see that. That's not far-fetched at all. That's legit to me. He also says Drew Lock to the Cowboys as a backup. I disagree. The reason why I disagree is I think Drew Lock showed enough. And I don't think the quarterback competition was won by Teddy Bridgewater by a mile. In my opinion, Eric, you were there on the field, up close and personal. Feel free to disagree, but I don't think he was won by a mile. I think Drew Lock's matured, grown up enough in his game to show that he can be a starting quarterback. And with teams like Pittsburgh and Washington that need quarterbacks that, they're injured or they're not sure about their future, I think he has an opportunity to be a starter for in the NFL. As a Drew Lock fan, you wanted to be the Broncos, but if not, I think he can definitely I'm sorry, that's on Dave's comment. I think we have trolls.
Definitely be a starter. Definitely be a starter in the league. Dave Glassman says we have trolls.
Yes,
legit.
So I have the last question for Eric because Eric needs to get going here in just a second. Okay, Eric, fine. You've already predicted for the Jets. You predict the Broncos should walk all over.
Yeah.
Now,
I could look real dumb, huh?
You literally walk the halls with these guys. You are on the field with them daily. Which, I mean, oh my God, I can't even speak. I can't even speak to how jealous I am, how much I would give to be in your shoes. That being said, prediction for the season-ending record for the Broncos.
Yeah, I think that I went into the year saying 8-9, 9-8, because every year when you're around the team this much, you just kind of believe, you buy in. And I just after the last 4 years, I was like, I can't do it. I can't. I'm not ready to get hurt again. You can't buy into it all that much. But I think I think if things go well, so let me start by saying I think 7-3 before the bye is very, very attainable because I think they're going to win this weekend. If you can split Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Oakland, or Las Vegas and Cleveland, so go 2-2 there, and then win 2 of 3 against Washington, Dallas, and Philly, probably Washington and Philly. You're at 7-3 at the bye, and then after the bye, and so 7-3 at the very least. I could even see a scenario where maybe you get to 8-2 at the bye. Like I buy in against some of these teams. Like I think Baltimore at home is a game you can win. I'm not that afraid of Pittsburgh. I think you should beat the Raiders at home.
Yeah, I had to. I'm sorry.
Right, Johnny.
Oh, dang. Yeah.
Get ready, Aric. Give your record.
All right, so here comes the hot take before you give the final record.
Here's a hot take.
So I would go right now 11-6. I think is very doable. I think they're going to have to hold on a little bit down the stretch because you play the Chargers at home. I think you can win that. You then go on the road to the Chiefs. That Arrowhead in December is a bad place. I don't like it there. I don't want to go there, but we have to go there. You pick up wins against the Lions and the Bengals, and then those last 3. That's about as favorable as the opening 3-game stretch was. The final 3 games, oh my goodness, it is just brutal.
Those are gonna be battles fought in the trenches. Those last 3 games.
So y'all heard it here. Aric Dilalla of the Denver Broncos himself says we could go 11-6.
I wrote it down to hold him accountable.
Right,
I wrote it down.
We love it. Now
and I think even 10-7 might get you in, but 11-6 will definitely get you in.
10-7 still better than what it's been the last 4 years.
That is correct.
This team is light years better than they have been, and they can be one of those teams that you get in the playoffs. You don't want to face the Broncos.
No, I mean I'm excited for it. So, last comment from KB82, and then we'll start to roll out of here. He says, "Sorry."
He says, I think if the O-line can be middle of the pack, Teddy can have a really big year. I agree. Keep him healthy. Create that good pocket. Maybe don't have him rush as many times or his helmet fall off as many times. But, you keep him healthy, create that good pocket. We see the way he manipulates it and how he can get the ball to his receivers. He's patient, great run game. I agree 100% KB82. But, yeah, now we're closing out. Everybody.
And Aric, if you wouldn't mind just hanging around for just like 2 more minutes.
Of course.
That would be great. Hang around with us till after the show. I just want to talk to you for a minute in the green room. Thank you. All right, so Aric Dilalla, the man, the myth, the legend of the Denver Broncos himself, thank you for joining us today on the Nothing Rhymes with Orange and Blue podcast on MHRT Network. Oh my gosh, it has been
Johnny. I got his nickname.
What?
I have his nickname. Audiobook Aric.
Audiobook Aric. Sorry, Isaiah feels the need to give everybody a nickname.
No,
so there it is. So Audiobook Aric, but I'll continue to say Aric Dilalla. Thank you, sir, so much for gracing us with your presence, your answers to all of our questions. It's been an honor. It has been a privilege. Thank you so much, everybody. Please like, subscribe, and share because this has been one hell of an episode. We've had a lot of fun in here today. All right.
And you guys can see, Johnny, hold on. At the bottom of his screen on his username, Aric Dilalla. That's how you follow him follow him on Twitter. NRW crew, go right now and follow Aric Dilalla. Go. Follow him now. Go.
Please and thank
That's
you.
Not an option.
That is not, no, you are charged as members of the Mile High Roundtable to go follow Aric Dilalla on Twitter if you have not already. That being said, thank you all for joining us on Nothing Rhymes with Orange and Blue. We are a fan-based, Broncos-based podcast fan-led Broncos-based podcast that goes live every Friday at 7654 on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. Please do not miss our other shows. Tuesday, Broncos Talk with a 6'10" Mexican and Richie Riche at the same time slot. And Thursday, MHRT Podcast with Mundungus Creevy, Glenn Hauser, Mr. Boggins, and a 6'10" Mexican. Same time slot. Also, please subscribe and then hit that notification bell because we have the Neigh-borhood every pregame show. And the best way to know when we're going live on the Neigh-borhood is to hit that notification, subscribe and hit the notification bell. All right, please do so. Do not miss it. Also, you may find all the audio versions of our podcast on MHRT Network wherever you find your favorite podcasts, be it Apple, Google, Spotify, iHeartRadio. It doesn't matter. It's there. All right. That being said, we have a few people thanking, Mundungus, the boss man of MHRT, the Godfather, says, awesome, or thank you for being on the show. Lonnie's saying, awesome. You're a great guest, Aric. We cannot wait to have you again. It is time for us to roll out of here, but we have to have Aric do the final thing. All right, Aric. Now this I have to explain to you really quick. It started on this show. It's MHRT now, but it started on Nothing Rhymes. And I will not rest until it is announced over the intercom at Empower Field. The announcer screams Mile High Five, and the entire crowd does the Mile High Five. It starts, you put your arms out, I shout Mile High Five, and as soon as I'm done, you clap as high above your head as you can. It's because it's a mile high. All right. So here we go. Are you ready, Aric?
I am.
All right, buddy. It's been an honor. Thank you, Aric, for joining us. And Mile High Five.
Yeah. Aric Dilalla did the Mile High Five, baby.
We just got Aric Dilalla of the Denver Broncos to do the Mile High Five. What an ending to the show. Thank you, Aric. And we are out of here.